I'm getting the feeling that Matthew feels that this is a poor video topic. Is that what you think, Matthew? Alright, thanks, buddy. Alright, welcome back to Once Upon a Tiny Farm. My name's Drew, and this is Matthew, and today we are going to talk about, in this video, 3 different ways you can make your own soil for free. So, the first way that I'm going to talk about for making your own soil is having chickens. Now, if you're in an area where you can't have chickens, obviously, you might want to just skip over this one. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that I'm technically supposed to have chickens, but I just went ahead and got some anyway, and they're actually, if you don't have a rooster, they're not that loud, and I checked with my neighbors, and my neighbors didn't care that I had chickens, so, you do what you gotta do, because I wanted fresh eggs in my backyard. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Chickens are a great way to create your own soil, because what the chickens do naturally is till and dig in the ground, and they'll naturally create soil for you. And over here, this is the chickens run area over here, and down here there's actually lots of soil here. Now this stuff is from their run. They just kicked it out over the last year and a half that I've had them, and this whole area here is just full of already tilled, and actually it's sifted through the fencing here, so like I could basically use all this stuff. This is just from their bedding that they kicked out themselves, and that's really cool. Now another cool thing about having chickens, and this is their run area again. Now I have them on a deep mulch system, so every few months I'm adding more mulch, which is the chickens are turning and tilling every day, and they're turning that mulch into black, awesome looking soil. So I also come out here and feed them food scraps from our kitchen, and they'll eat leftover, they can even eat the eggshells from their own eggs. Other things I give the chickens are coffee grinds. They get coffee grinds every day. I'm not sure that they actually eat that, but it goes into their bedding, which they till into the ground, which eventually becomes soil for the garden. So what I'll do after a few months, I will come in here and I will move aside some of the wood chips on top, and I'll dig down maybe a foot or so deep below the top layer of wood chips, and you could just start shoveling out compost from the chickens that's below their bedding. And you'll probably want to sift that. I've made a sifter and to get any like rocks or thick debris and stuff like that out. But you have your own soil from your chickens just eating and tilling and doing what they naturally do, and that's really cool. So that's one way to create your own soil. Obviously, wouldn't say it's a free way to make your own soil, because you do need to feed the chickens. But I've actually seen videos where people don't feed their chickens grain. They just feed them off the they have they eat out of a compost pile. So that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. Is we are trying to create our own compost from our own compost pile, and something you might want to consider is putting, if you have chickens, the ability to have chickens, maybe put your compost pile inside your chicken run, and then give your chickens always access to that compost pile, so they could just naturally turn and till your compost pile, but they'll also dig for bugs and worms and get that stuff that is naturally what they want to eat anyway. So that's another thing to consider, that I'm actually considering, maybe putting another compost pile in the chicken run. What do you think, Hey? Should I put a compost bin in the chicken run? Yes? Alright, so here is our compost area. It's nothing fancy or pretty. It's just a couple of pallets that I connected together, and I put some, not sure if this was totally necessary, but I put some of this plastic chicken wire just to keep from too much of the material going out the sides. And this pile here, I have not turned one time this year. So I've had this, I made this compost area midsummer, maybe in like July. So this has just been sitting for a couple months, and I just add to it. I have straw from the chickens bedding inside their coop that goes into here. Anytime that I crop out a bed over on the farm, I will put all that stuff into a wheelbarrow and just shove that green stuff into this pile. Some of it I'll feed to the chickens, but a lot of it goes into this pile. And then I keep piling grass clippings during the, when the grass is growing. That's great free material that I keep piling into my compost pile here. So you have a mixture of brown stuff and green stuff, and that creates compost. Now, I've never actually successfully made my own compost, not on like a big scale. I used to have a small little bin, but now I'm trying to do it on a bigger scale here. I could actually add more bays here of pallet, wings for the compost area if I wanted to make it, make it big and make more compost. But for now, this is what I have. And this right here, I'm actually really impressed with this pile. I haven't done anything, like I said, this is just naturally composting. I bet if I reached my hand into the middle here, I've got really nice looking soil, but there's some stuff broken down on the outside there. So it's a mixture of chicken poop, straw, leftover plants from the farm. All that stuff just gets put into this compost pile. Now, you can turn it every couple days and make sure the pile's really hot. They have thermometers, which I don't have. I want to get to check the temperature of the center of the pile to make sure it's maintaining around like 150 degrees, I think, is a temperature you want for your compost pile to be cooking in the middle to kill all the weed seeds, so you don't put that soil onto your farm or garden and then have all these weeds sprout from your soil, your compost. So this is something, hopefully I'll be able to build a few more rows with my own compost. So this is the first time I've ever done this. We have a couple warm days coming up, so I might try to turn this a few times to see if I could speed up some of the process, even though we're here in December. But yeah, that's one easy way that you can create your own soil for free, and you could do it at home with free materials. So yeah, that's something definitely to consider if you want to make your own soil. All right, so now the last way that you could naturally build and create your own soil is do it. What I'm doing here is I have tarped completely our whole field plot here. Our whole market garden is tarped, and what is happening beneath that tarp is mimicking what happens in nature. When you look at a forest floor, it's full of leaves in the fall and winter, and those leaves cover the soil and creates all this microbial activity down in the soil, and that's really good for soil life. And you look at all the trees grow like it just works, for centuries. That's just how the soil has naturally rebuilt itself in the forest. Matthew agrees. Yeah. So we're on to something here. Matthew agrees. So so I have created my own soil two ways. Now, on this front half here of our market garden, we've bought compost and brought it in to get our farm started and to get the biology going, because before that, this was just grass. You could go back to some of our older videos in this series where we tarped the grass killed the grass, and then just brought in compost. And after this first season, we're tarping that again as if it was covered in leaves or whatever that fell from the trees. We're mimicking nature in that way. Now, on this back half of the farm here, I've created, first of all, our beds are longer. They're 50 feet long compared to 50 or 25 feet back there. But these rows I created using those natural materials I was talking about. I used leaves and grass clippings, all of those things that I've got for free here on our property, and I created rows using those things. And some of them I actually have extra mulch lying around, and I've created these rows using mulch, leaves, and grass clippings. And I did that within the last few weeks, and then we just tarped this the other day. So we're going to be removing this tarp in the spring, and we're going to be planting right into these things. Now, this is not something that you could do for like, say you were direct seeding with like a seeder. You wouldn't be doing it into grass clippings and leaves like this. So this is going to be something where I'm direct seeding my lettuce transplants, and I'm going to actually be doing that with spinach too. I'm going to be transplanting instead of direct seeding. I had issues with spinach last year, so I'm going to try that. But so I'm going to try this. This is a trial run this year, but I'm basically creating 50-foot rows using just leaves and grass clippings and mulch that I had. So you'll have to subscribe and stay in touch with our channel to keep getting these updates throughout the year as to how that turned out. Because if this works, which I assume it will for light feeders like greens, like lettuce and things like that, that they should do fine just in the ground. And I didn't mention, before I put all of these leaves and grass clippings down in these rows, I had our chickens were over here in our chicken tractor grazing this whole, it's about 2,000 square feet back here that we just added onto our farm. And we had them, when we feed them grain, throw it onto the ground. So some of the grain that they didn't eat sprouted, and then we had oats and wheat growing out here. So we had cover crops, and we had the animals tilling and chipping away at the soil so it wasn't so compact. And then we added all this stuff, the leaves and the grass clippings, and we tarped it, and we'll be planting into it in the spring. So that is one way that you could create your own soil for free. You're creating your own raised beds basically for free using materials that come from nature. You don't have to buy anything. It's awesome. So if this works, which I am pretty sure it will, because I planted some things last year like squash, which is the heavy feeder, into this direct soil, and it grew. So yeah. All right, so that is going to wrap up this video on 3 different ways that you can create your own soil for free. And yeah, leave a comment below if there's some ways that you're making soil that I didn't mention, or if you have any tips on creating your own compost a little bit quicker of a way than I'm passively doing, like I talked about. Leave any of those tips or comments below. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done that already. I'd really appreciate it. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.